Hello and welcome to Project Budgeting. We're going to explore how to get the most out of the standard budgeting practices within the project module. I am Donna Hurst. I'm a principal and senior consultant at Synergy Business Solutions. My contact information is there. Synergy is based in Portland, but I'm in Boise, really. So a little about me. Synergy is a Dynamics SL partner. We started Synergy in 2003 with 7 partners and who were all committed to Dynamics SL. As a partner, I've done just about every job in the company except sales. I love consulting and helping users learn and get the most out of Dynamics SL. I love SL so much that I use it at home instead of Quicken, which my coworkers like to tease me about. But it does keep me in the software, and I think it makes me a better consultant because I'm feeling the same pain that you are. I also teach a junior high computer applications class one day a week. It's 1 hour, 1 day a week, so I get to it's like herding cats, but I enjoy that. And my husband, who is a high school teacher, and we both love to read and golf, and I do all the cooking. So that's what's required to put a slide in a little about me, so there you have it. Our agenda for today, we're going to look at direct budgeting in project budgeting. We're going to look at project budgeting by revision, budget review and approvals, budget revision inquiry and analysis. We're going to look at the contract management change order budget revision module and the analyzer module. Neither of those modules are actually standard with Dynamics that are add-on modules, but I wanted to be able to show you what the options are if you do have those and if you want to use them. We're going to look at integration capabilities using using Excel, and we're going to look at the web app budgeting capabilities if time permits. So for those of you that are taking this session for CPE credits, you will, at the end of this session, understand the purpose of the project budgeting module. You will know the differences between project direct budgeting versus budget by revision in Dynamics SL and be able to make determinations that best fit your needs. You will understand the budget workflow capabilities of project budgeting. You will be able to analyze budget versus actual numbers on your projects, and you will understand and be able to use the built-in integration capabilities of the module. So first of all, what is the purpose of the project budgeting module? Why use it? Well, first of all, it provides visibility into the impact of a budget change on your project's profit and loss and margin. Also, the Dynamics SL project budgeting module allows you to maintain 3 budgets on a project. So you have your original budget, your EAC or estimate at completion budget, and also you can have a forecast at completion or FAC budget. There's a star here with a notation that the EAC values, which we'll be pointing out in the demo, are used by the revenue recognition process to calculate your percentage of completion. So that process, revenue recognition, uses your EAC values, not your original budget and not your FAC budget. And this is a project performance report so that you can see the EAC values that I'm talking about. They're clearly labeled as EAC. So that's the number that'll be used for revenue recognition. We are going to be talking about, when we talk about budget by revision or direct budgeting, what we're going to be talking about is this option here on the project maintenance screen, which allows you to set a project to have direct budgets or budgets by revision. The difference really being direct budgeting is we enter a budget and boom, we're done. Budget by revisions allow us to create different revisions of a budget. We'll have our original budget, and then you can have multiple changes to the budget, and then your original budget and all of those changes will go through a process of approval or rejection by individuals within your organization. So with direct budgeting, you enter your budget. The budget is editable right there on your budget maintenance screen. You'll notice that all of the items here are in black on the project maintenance budget screen. And if you're doing budget by revisions, in project maintenance on the budgets tab, you can see your budget, but everything is in blue. It's not editable for you. And when we talk about a budget workflow, specifically, we're just talking about specifying a budget change as part of a change order control process. One of the great benefits of using the revision option is that it does integrate with Microsoft Excel. It allows you to import or export a budget, import from a spreadsheet, export to a spreadsheet, or an estimating system. And it provides online revision and inquiry analysis with drill down and export capabilities to Microsoft Excel, and we will be showing that. So because everybody loves sitting through boring demos in PowerPoint, I am going to go into Dynamics SL and we're going to do a live demo. So there is always the never demo live software. We're going to do it anyway. Move this over to the side. Okay, so first of all, direct budgeting. So we're going to do a quick review of the direct budgeting capabilities. And there are really 3 ways that you can enter in a direct budget. The first one is going to be direct budgeting just on the budget maintenance tab. And so I'm just going to pull up a sample project that I have created. I'm not going to make you watch me set up a project. Make sure I have my number locks on. This will go a lot quicker. So here is a project that we have set for direct revision budgeting. It's set to direct budgeting. So with direct budgeting, I can go into the budgets tab, and from here I can just type in my numbers. So if I want direct labor, $1,000, there it is. So this is budget for this project for this task. And I can just type in a number for that account category. The other option that I have is I can go into the budget. I need to stay in my project. I've got 3 ways to do it. And so we did budgets. The other option is to go into tasks. And I can click on any task. So I can say click on planning. And I have my budgets down here at the bottom. And from here, I can go ahead and type in a budget. You'll see that I already have my 10,000 because I just typed that in. And I can change this budget. One feature that not a lot of folks know about when it comes to budgeting is I'm going to pull up a different task, and you'll notice that here on this particular task, I have no account categories. You have to manually select each account category, and that's why most people do it. You pick your account category and you fill out your values. There's a template button down here at the bottom that works in conjunction with your account category maintenance. So I'm going to pull up account category maintenance so you can see what I'm talking about, and I'm going to pull up my direct labor. And over here out on the right hand side, there's a bucket, or there's a field that says budget template, and it's yes or no, and it defaults to no just so that you know when you're setting up your account categories. So most of the time they're always flagged as no. If it's flagged as yes, then if you are using simple direct budgeting, when you go into budget maintenance on a task, you can click the template button, and every account category that is flagged as template yes is going to populate in this list. So I can boom, hit template, and here are all of the account categories that I need to budget. So you can control and quickly go, this is the list of the different accounts that I need to budget. Click that button, and then I can come over and I can enter in a budget for any of those items. So that's the second way that you can create a budget item. So again, either budget here or budget task. And the other options that are available for simple direct budgeting on any of your items is you can enter in a budget schedule. So you can, by period, enter in units and or amounts by period. And of course, within Project Controller, you get up to 15 periods, if you're doing the short weeks, short months. And when you do your reporting, then you can see your month-to-date values and against your budget instead of the full budget. So that option is available if you're doing simple direct budgeting. There is also an EAC schedule, so those could be different. So you can manage a original budget schedule and an EAC schedule in simple budgeting if you want to do that. So you do have the ability to maintain those two budgets, but again, with direct budgeting, when you change the number, that's just the number. There's no historical record of what the number was versus what the number is. You can just go in and change them. The third option, which isn't necessarily a third option, is using the budget maintenance screen on the project controller menu. This is the same. It's the same as going to the task budget. You pick your project, you pick your task, and it's the exact same screen. So you can get to it a little bit differently, but it is the same budgeting. And as far as direct budgeting, that's really all there is to entering a direct budget. Once you've saved it, then your reports are then available for you to view what your direct budget is. So then we get into budget revisions. And so utilizing budget revision, I'm going to go ahead, we're going to use a sample project of RV001, which is my sample, and currently it's set for direct, and I'm going to go ahead and flip it over to budget by revision. So when we are doing budget by revision, we use the project budgeting menu, and we use the budget revision maintenance screen. So I'll pull up my project. And there are a couple of items on here we're going to cover. So in our header section, we have our update types, we have our revision types, we have some create from capabilities, and we also have budget schedules. So we're going to cover each of these. So first of all, let's go ahead and talk about the revision and update types, which are these two buckets that are here. So first, let's start with our revision type. These two work together. So in your handout that you have, or if you're downloading the PowerPoint from the session website, you will notice on pages 21 and 23 of the slide deck, there's some descriptions about what the different revenue types and the update types are. So I'm going to briefly cover them. With our revision types, we have complete replacement, new amounts, and net change. A complete replacement is when you want to delete all of the existing data for this particular project and replace it with the new data that is in here. So of course we'll have an original budget, and then if we decide, wow, that's just really messed up, we want to get rid of it altogether, we can do a complete replacement, and every dollar on every task will be replaced with whatever our complete replacement is. If we choose new amounts instead of complete replacement, then this update will only update the numbers related to the task and the account categories within this revision. So if I'm updating, say, task 1000 and task 2000 has numbers on it, task 2000 stays the same. So it's only going to affect my numbers on task 1000 and just those account categories that I'm updating. And it will do a replacement of that amount. So if on task 1000 for my direct labor, I had 500 and I say I want it to be 1000, this new amount says 1000, and that's what it will be replaced with. Unlike net change, which is going to either increase or decrease my number that I already have based on whatever my net change is. So if I have a $500 value for direct labor on my budget, and I say net change of 1000, my resulting EAC would be $1,500. So it's going to add 2. So complete replacement and new amounts are both going to replace. Just this will do a complete replacement. This is only going to replace the items I've selected. My net change is going to affect the items that I've selected, but it's either going to increase or decrease based on my net change. So those are the different types of revisions that are available. And then the update or the revision types work in conjunction with the update type. So the second drop down here, we have 5 options. And as I mentioned earlier, when you're doing budget revisions, you have EAC values, original budgets, and FACs. And then this drop down allows you to have a combination thereof. So EAC is, if we were to choose EAC only, then this revision is only going to update the EAC bucket. If we say original budget and EAC, then it will update the original budget and the EAC value. Same with original budget, EAC, FAC. So whatever option we choose for our revision type, that revision type is going to be applied to whatever option we choose here. Normally, when you're setting up a budget, your initial budget is usually always going to be original budget and at least EAC. Some folks, excuse me, I have to put in a budget number before I do that. Some folks do original budget, EAC, and FAC. If you're not going to use a forecast.complete number, if that's not something that you're interested in, then just do your original budget and EAC, or you can do original budget only if you want, although then you'll have no EAC values. So most common on your initial budget is going to be your original budget and EAC value. Moving on, so we've entered in our revision number. So I put in revision number 1 and I put in a description of an original budget. This at this point doesn't really going to matter because this is my original budget. So if I do complete replacement, new amount, net change, it's really not going to matter because it's going to have the same effect. And I'm going to do my original budget, my EAC. One nice feature that I showed in the simple budgeting is how you can create a template, and then when I press the template button, it will populate with all of the account categories that are set to be budgeted. The budget revision process has something quite similar, which is called the create from. The create from button lets you copy a budget or the setup of a budget from one project to the current project that you're working on or current task. So what makes this really nice is that if you're going to be using budget revisions and you have that list of tasks that you know, whenever I set up a new budget, I want a budget to these account categories, I can create a template project. I can create a template budget that just has those account categories, maybe no dollars, and then I can copy from that or create this budget from that budget, and that way I don't have to remember what are the account categories. I know I'm supposed to do budgeting or do direct labor. Am I supposed to do fringe? Am I supposed to do overhead? Am I supposed to do equipment? I can't remember. This way you can be sure that all of the different account categories are going to be in front of you and you can make the decision whether or not you want to budget them. So I picked my source project, and actually this is my source project. So I'm going to pick project number 2 as my source. And I can pick my source task. I'll go ahead and pick my O1 task. And what's the source data? I can select it from whatever is on my source as my EAC, my original budget, my FAC, or I can actually create it from the actuals if I want to. So if you have projects that are very similar and you did one not too long ago and you just want to bring over what those numbers were because this budget's going to look very similar to that, you can do that. I'll go ahead and just do from the EAC value. I click OK, and it populated my task. It populated with all of the budget account categories that I had set up on that other project. Of course, I did that where you guys didn't see it. And then it brought in the budget numbers that were associated with it. So again, if I have this is similar to that project, my budget numbers are there, or I can, of course, come in here and I can change them if I want to. At this point, I would go ahead and save my budget. The budget revision also has the ability to create a budget schedule. So this is creating a budget by period. One thing that I do want to point out when you're using a budget schedule is it's not the 30,000 and I'm spreading it. Although the 30,000 is listed here because that is what I have for my budget, this number isn't tied. So I can put in a number, okay, and I can say that my amount is going to be $35,000. It's going to let me do it. It's not looking at the amount and confirming that they match. It's really one or the other. This is really just here for informational so that you know, and you'll notice it didn't update. So what I would normally suggest that you do is to leave this number 0 out here. If you're going to use budget schedules, leave the budget amount that you have here 0, come into your budget schedule. Sorry, I must save. Create my budget schedule, enter in my values, get my total amount, and then populate that out as my total budget number. So that's really the better way to do that, so then you'll know that they match. So I don't know why they don't tie together or look at each other, but they don't. So just keep that in mind. And once our budget is in, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we complete it. So I'm the preparer, and in this case, I'm actually also the approver, but I'm going to change my approver, and I'm going to make the approver John Dynamics. So as the person that's preparing it, I enter all the information, and when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and set it to completed. Now, although I'm not going to jump over into web apps at the moment, John was just sent a notification to say, hey, you have a budget that needs to be reviewed. There are several ways that John can go in and approve the budget. The web apps is one, which we'll take a look at the end of the session today if we have time. But the other way is he can go into Dynamics and come into the budget review and approval screen. And from here, he would type in his user ID. Any budget that's been entered that he's required to approve is going to populate. And then he can review it by clicking on the View Details. And that's going to bring in the Revision Inquiry and Analysis screen. And I'll make this a little bit bigger. And here, John is able to review the revision number and what the task is, what the account category is. Here's my revision amount, and then here's the resulting EAC. Since I don't have any beginning balances or I didn't have a previous budget, my revision and my resulting EAC, and he can also see that I'm going to be updating the original budget, they're all the same value. So he can review this. He can make the determination whether or not he wants to approve it or not. And then from here, he has a couple of options. So for approving, he can just go ahead and set it to approve and be done after he hits begin processing. He could reject it and maybe send me a note to let me know, hey, you got that number wrong. That shouldn't be $35,000 for labor. That should only be $30,000, okay? Or he could say, you know what? Yeah, this looks fine, but I want somebody else to take a quick peek at it before we get it reviewed. So he could go ahead and set a forward to, and then when he hits begin processing, then this budget is then forwarded over to this person, and this person, being Bill actually, would receive a notification that he has a budget that needs to be reviewed. So that way I've put the onus of the final approval of the budget on somebody else for whatever reason if I didn't want to do that. But for the sake of our demonstration today, John's going to go ahead and approve our budget. So I'm flagging it as approved, and I'll go ahead and I'll hit the begin processing button. And once I do that, I can go into I'm going to jump into Analyzer, and I'm going to look at the project task performance report. It's a good report when you're doing a demo. You can see things. And I'm going to go ahead and do a quick print preview. And it's very quick. It's very speedy. And I'm going to take a look at the project I have. So here's my RV001 project. And you can see, here's my numbers. There's my $35,000 for direct labor and all of the other numbers that I put in. So here's my resulting EAC. You'll notice original budget isn't on this particular report, but the data is in the database. So let's take a look at the other options that we have for reviewing our budget information that we entered. So here on the menu, I'm going to take a look at the budget revision, inquiry, and analysis screen. So that's down here under inquiries, and I'm going to go ahead and enter my project, but I'll type it correctly so that it will actually pull up. And here on my revision inquiry, I can F3 and I can pull in my original budget or any of the budgets that I have, excuse me. And it did say posted there. I'm not sure why it's not populating. I don't have any other ones listed. And I can flip between amount and unit, of course, although I don't have any units. So not sure. Hold on one moment. Revision ID was 1. All right. Here's where you never demo live software. There we go. Original budget. And I can see here that I have my current EAC, so this is what it currently is. Here's my original budget. And here was the revision amount associated to this revision. In just a moment, I'm going to do a second item, so then that way you'll be able to see the comparison. So this gives me the option, gives me the ability to review what my budget is, and I can export it out to Excel if I want to and take a look at it. But I can compare each revision one to another. And really, that's really as simple as doing budgets is, as far as the revision, doing budget revisions. The only other kind of nice feature that is available, if you're using the contract management module, then you can also do your budget revisions. This same screen, this BRM, will kind of keep this open. But if you are using the contract management module, you can actually start your budget revisions with a change order. One of the benefits of this is that you can actually print out the change order and send it to your customer for their signature or approval before you commit the budget, especially if it does relate to increasing the value or the amount of money that your customer is going to have to spend. So using the project change order, you select your same project, okay, and you put in a change order number. So this might be CO1, whatever you want to call it. You put in a description, change order. This is just a short description, change order. And there's a number of other fields on here I'm not going to cover during the session today, but there's quite a few fields that are available for you to track information about the change order, and some of this information would print on your change order, or of course is available utilizing the standard project change order report, and Crystal, you could modify it to include it. You know, the scope of nature, this is more time needed, demos are hard. Okay, so I go ahead and I can save my change order. And then once I've saved it, I do have the budgeting button that then becomes active. And here you can see BUBRM, BUBRM. It's the same screen. It's just a different way to get there, but it does give you this one nice layer, and we're going to come back to that, and we're going to do a print of the change order so that you can see that and you can see the values that are there. So on my budget revision, I'm going to do, this is my second revision to my budget, so this is going to be for a change order. I do have to put who the preparer is. I'm going to be the preparer, and again, John's going to be the approver. The dates on the budget revision, I didn't mention this earlier. The dates that are up here, this is the start and the end date associated with your project. So if you populated the start and end date on your project, those dates would populate here. You'd be able to see them. And then down here at the bottom, when you bring in your task, so in this case, I'll bring in my task 1000. If I had start and end dates on my task, I would also be able, those would pop in, and then I could make modifications to them if I needed to for some reason. If maybe this change order is going to be pushing out the length of this task, I can just populate those dates. One quick thing I did want to point out is with your revision tasks, when you F3 on this list, this revision task list only displays the tasks associated with this revision that have something behind it. So in this case, I haven't actually entered anything yet to any of my tasks for this revision. So therefore, I haven't selected a task, so no task is populating. If I need to see my full task list, I can go ahead, and I can hit my project task button. These are all of the tasks that are associated with my project. Now, one of the things that I love about the budget revision maintenance screen versus doing any type of direct budgeting or any other budgeting is, let's say that, you know what, for change orders, I want to create a task specific to change orders so that any work that's done against this change order, I want it to be against the change order task. I don't want it to be against one of the initial tasks because this is extra and I don't want it to affect my numbers. So from here, I can actually type in a new task number, and I can give it a task description, change order number 1, whatever I want that to be. I can put in a start date and an end date if I need to do that. 30. And then again, from here, I can go ahead and pick I can copy from if I want to copy from, or I can just say, you know what, this is just a revenue value. And so my revenue billed amount is going to be a net change increase of, say, $10,000. So I save that, and here it is, and I can say that it's completed. And so I've done entering my budget, but now I need to send this budget information or request over to my customer for their approval. So from here, I can do a quick print. It's just going to print to PDF on my screen. So one moment while it circles, around the globe and brings up my printer, it's going to pop up over here, and here it is. Now, bad juju. It didn't actually bring in my numbers. I need to saving. Maybe I hadn't saved. Quick print, we'll try that again. Save. And no, fantastic. I don't know why that's not happening. I will fix that before the real demo. So this change order should print, and it should print that I have a $10,000 change. So, oops. Now it's beautiful. It's gone to the client or the customer. The customer sent it back to me and they've approved it. I can change the status of my change order. So I can change it to pending. And then when I go back into, then John Dynamics has received his notification that there's a budget that needs to be approved. He would go into the budget review and approval screen, or he can do this through the web app, would do the approval again with the same ability to view the details, etc., and can go ahead and approve that budget. So now this was the same project. So I want to go back into our analyzer, and I want to take a look at the project report again. And in this case, I am going to do a task performance, because what I want to show you is, if you remember, I created a brand new task 9500, which is for my change order. And I can now see on my project, I have 2 tasks. I have task 1000, and then on page 3, I have my task 9500, which is change order number 1, and I can see my EAC value there. So really nice. I didn't have to stop, go into project maintenance, add the task, and then come back and try to remember what it was I was doing. I was able to actually add a new task to my project just at the same time I put in my budget. Okay, next I'm going to show you then the change order inquiry, which is also part of the contract management module. So under the inquiry, we have a project change order screen. And the one thing that's really nice about this is that as you have lots of change orders on a project, this one screen lets you see all the different change orders. And of course, it also then shows you in one nice grid the budget effect of that change order. So this was a revenue budget that was affected by that change order. So this screen, really nice way to keep track of all of the different change orders that you've put onto your project that are affecting your budget. Then of course, back under my budget revision maintenance, I can go ahead and look at revision 2. Again, it's the same screen. And now if I go into the inquiry screen that we looked at before, I have a current EAC, what my current EAC was, what my original budget was, and then here I can, excuse me, I didn't mean to click on it. It doesn't like it when you do that, especially in a demo in front of a room full of people. You can see what the effect of this revision was. So this revision number 2, those values are broken out for you in the revision amount column. So you can see that. And the analyzer module, I've gone in here and I've looked at a couple reports, And I just wanted to show you, there's a couple of things in the Analyzer module. This is the second module, the Contract Management module being the first one, Analyzer being the second, that are not part of your initial purchase of if you've purchased the project series or project suite. The Contract Management module and the Analyzer module are add-ons. However, I think very well worth it because they do give you some great capabilities, especially if you're doing budgeting. So the Project Analyzer window allows you to see by any one of these options, by project manager, by the lead, in this case that's the manager 2 on your project, maybe by sub-account, looking for a specific project, or maybe customer or contract, the different projects. And what's also really great is maybe I'm looking for my RV projects. It also allows you to wildcard, so to speak, where I just type in RV and it brings back just a list of all of my RV projects. And you can do that, for any of these items. So once you have identified your project, you can take a look at that. This gets you back to the project net profit screen. However, there's a wonderful multi-project view which is available, and what's really nice about this is that this lets you select all of your account categories in addition to just revenue and expense, where your project net profit lets you pick only your revenue and expense. Here you can look at all. So if you are budgeting maybe to a non-accounting account category for some reason for statistical purposes, you can view that information here as well. So for this particular project, I can look at my revenue, my expenses. I can see what my estimate to complete is against my EAC value, my original budget value if I have one, any commitments. In this case, I do have a commitment on my project, and then who the lead consultant is and who the project manager is. So I can see some really nice information about my budget that I've entered utilizing the multi-project view. I can also see that in the project net profit view. I just don't get the option to see the other account categories. I can't break it down by just revenue or just expenses, but I can see my EAC and my original budget values, and then I can see a variance here between my original budget and my EAC, so I know I've done change orders totaling the $10,000. Second screen on the Project Analyzer module that I wanted to show you is the EAC or the FAC maintenance. And this is sort of a way that you could do additional budgeting. So if I pick my RV0001 project, I can see my EAC values. I can just get a really quick glimpse at my numbers. So here's by task, and all my tasks are listed on one screen. I can see what my my EAC is, my current estimate to complete, my current EAC values. I can see all these numbers in one screen. They're just available for me to view. If I pick a project that is a direct budget project, like my RV003 that I started with, you'll notice that these fields are black, and I can modify them. So I can say my EAC value is really 15,000, and that's going to change my estimate to complete value. So I've got a revised EAC against my current ETC value, and I can go ahead and save that, and when I do, it updates. Again, this is direct budgeting, so there's no history of what it was and what it now is. It just now is, but it is another place where you could do and make changes to your EAC budgets. The next thing I want to show you with regards to doing budget revisions is I want to talk about the integration capabilities using Excel. So if we go back into project budgeting and we look at our budget revision maintenance, and I'm going to go ahead and pick on RV001, pick on my project again. We have the capability, you'll notice there's some buttons here on the screen, export to a file and import from a file. These buttons are used to import, if you're importing from a file, import your budget from Excel, and also you could export your budget to Excel as well. Now, in order to be able to import or export, the first thing that you do have to have is you have to have what's called a map, and that map is created on the project controller menu from this Import Export File Mapping. So in the file mapping, you create a map ID, and I don't currently have one. So I'm going to create one called Demo. And so it's going to be my demo map. And it's pretty simple. It's very straightforward. There's not a lot of flexibility in this, but it's very, very useful. And so you decide, what do I want my map to look like? If you're doing budgeting currently, you're probably starting the process in Excel, and usually project comes first. We usually have a column for project, and then probably the task, and then maybe the account category. So you just number. Column number 1 is going to be my project. Column number 2 is going to be my task. As I look down my list, I see, oh, I have a task description. I think I want that to be the 3rd column. Then I'll pick my account category. I'll put in units. Here's my rate if I want one. I can leave it blank when I'm importing. I'll put in my amount, and I can put in a start and an end date if I want. So what's really nice about this is, again, how I showed you earlier, if my task doesn't yet exist on my project, I can create my task as part of my budget. I can bring in the task, the description, the start and the end date, and then I can bring in my budget. So it really could save me a lot of time when I'm creating my project, where I don't have to go and set up a whole bunch of tasks. I can just set them up for the ones I'm going to budget to. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this map, and I'll go ahead and close that. So now when I come over to my budget revision maintenance, I might say I'm going to pick on my original budget that I did, and I'm going to export this to a file. Because it already exists and it's been posted, I can't import, but I'm going to export because I want to show you how easy it is to create a sample map. So I create my map, I pick my map ID. I'm going to give it a file name, and I'm going to browse. I'm just going to put this on my desktop, and it's going to be called Demo, and I'm going to open that up, and it's going to create an Excel worksheet, and it's going to have tabs across the bottom like Excel does, and I'm just going to let it default to sheet 1, which is fine. So I press the export button, and magic, there is my demo file. And so here it actually exported out my budget, and it exported it out in the order that I set it up. So my project, my task description, these are the account categories that I currently have budgeted, and here's the budget amounts. So that was a really nice, easy way to export out my budget. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to project number 2, and nope, I'm not. I'm going to pick budget number 5. And so with project number 5, currently I do not have any budgets listed, and although I do have tasks 1, 2, and 3,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my project ID to be project number 5, okay, and I'm going to create budget number, or revision task number 4500, okay, and I'm going to call this demo import so we can see it, so you'll know that there's no magic going on here. And I've got my account categories that I'm going to import, and I've got some budget amounts. Now, in order to make this a little more interesting, I like to try to keep things interesting, I'm going to copy this down, and I'm going to make this 5,000, okay, and I'm going to paste this down, and then I'm going to copy this one more time because I want to have a nice long list of tasks, right, when we're importing in, so you can see how slick this is. And let's just pretend I changed all the numbers, okay? I'm going to go ahead and save that. This is my same thing, demo, sheet 1. I've now got 22 lines. I'm going to close that. Here I am on my project number 5, for which I have no revision at the moment. And again, on my task list, I only had 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to import in from a file. Oh, I do have to put my preparer on here. So I'm preparing it, and I'm going to go ahead and import. I pick the map ID. So again, it's the same map. And I'm going to browse to my file, and it's my demo file. It's going to be sheet 1, and boom, I'm importing. Oh, drat. I hate it when that happens. I do have a problem here. I'm not sure what that is. I'll fix that before the real demo. 14 records were imported. Go ahead and say OK. I'm going to go ahead and reload project number 5, revision number 1, and look, there's task 5,000. And oh, 4,500 isn't valid and I have them done. That's why I can't do that one. They have to be round numbers. So I have task 5,000. It brought in my numbers. I also have revision task 6,000 and it brought in my numbers. So it imported in all 14 line items of my budget from Excel very quickly, very efficiently. Boom, there's my budget. So at this point, I would change my status to completed, save it, and now at this point, Steve's going to get a notification that he has a budget that needs to be approved. And okay, so at this point, I'm stopping the demo only because I don't have my web app budgeting thing working, so doing it in web apps. But I nailed that at 50 minutes, and I only have 1 hour to do that. So